We're going to talk about Phoenix Jones.
Yeah.
The real-life superhero. Now, here's a question. Have you heard of Phoenix Jones?
You kind of iterated a little bit of it to me.
Yeah, because he rose to prominence where he's really like doing talk shows and shit about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
About 20, I want to say 2011.
Is this just Alex Jones? This is, you know what? This is where we go straight back to tinfoil radio with no warning.
No.
We're actually talking about Alex Jones.
But before I mentioned him and before this week's episode, did you know anything about Phoenix Jones?
I honestly thought she was, I thought that was the name of one of the runners.
First of all, it's a he, by the way.
Right, but I because of the way the name was, and there's that runner from the U.S. with the blonde hair. I don't know what her name is, but that seemed like that would be a really kick-ass name for her, Phoenix Jones. Yeah. Also, don't you think that hair would slow...
That's her superhero.
Don't you think that would slow her down? Like,
yeah. So, his real name
know.
is Ben Fodor. And the thing about Ben Fodor, he actually started doing MMA at a young age. And he did it with his brother. And he's actually was pretty good. He had a pretty solid amateur record. I don't remember the record specifically. By the way, I'm just going to go through kind of the bullet points of this video, but you should check out Jay. I'll put a link in the description of this episode. But Jay Aubrey does an amazing 35-minute documentary about Phoenix Jones, and it's awesome. He has a lot of really good videos on his channel. You should check it out. So that's going to be my main source of this, and this was also a thing you mentioned tinfoil radio. I do miss doing a little bit more deep divey stuff and research heavy stuff. But I do want to say I don't want to do that frequently. I don't want to do that weekly. This is a once in a while type thing, so just be wary of that.
Yeah, that's
so
what he said about. That's what he said about the long box. Look how that turned out.
No, it didn't. That was always the mainstay.
That's what he said about Jake Unlimited. Look how that turned
out. So his secret identity is Ben Fodor, and we'll get to that. But yeah, so he's a fighter, pretty competent fighter. And
ass.
he has 2 kids, I believe. And I don't know. His inspiration was he'd been fed up, and he'd always wanted to be someone to make a difference because he'd been working with special needs kids, working in school. So he has experience like helping communities and doing volunteer work. And, you know, this story goes down a sad path, but Ben Fodor, I don't think, is necessarily a bad person. I think that he got caught up in something that he created that got way bigger than it should have and caused a lot more publicity than it should have, and I think he just got swept up into it. But so, yeah, he'd always kind of had that need to help people and want to help people, so he eventually dons the mask of Phoenix Jones and starts patrolling Seattle. The first appearance, they kind of make fun of his outfit, so then he actually like buys body armor to protect himself. But there are some videos on the internet, and they're fucking terrible quality because they're like 2010, 2011 videos.
Yeah. It's amazing how shitty quality it was.
Right, but just 10 years ago, and you're like, yeah, these fuckers don't even have HD cameras on their phones.
They have like 3 pixels.
They can't even shoot in fucking 1080p.
It's like 3, and they're not even megapixels.
Dude, are you shooting in fucking 30 frames? Bump that up to 60. That's what everybody's doing nowadays.
Hey, can we get 250p for the speed? Man, that's fast.
Anyway,
720. What the hell is that?
So he becomes popular because, of course, he's going to be popular. There's this guy that's dressed up as a fucking superhero running around with pepper spray on his hip and like waiting for something to happen. And there's videos going around of him actually like saving this guy, running down a carjacker or a mugger. Sorry, he's chasing him down, and this guy's like, "Oh my god, you're amazing, dude! Fucking yeah!" And, you know, more and more videos keep popping up on social media, or on, like, fucking the news, I guess. Not necessarily social. I mean, Facebook was around, and, you know, Twitter, but they weren't nearly what they are now. Obviously.
Doesn't it feel like there's never been a time when YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook were not around? It does, doesn't it?
Or you remember when we used to not have cell phones?
There was a movie that came out in, like, 2009, and they were talking about Facebook.
MySpace. One movie I watched, Jennifer's Body. she said it came out in 2009, and she says MySpace, and I was like, "Woof, that's a time capsule."
There was a movie made recently that's supposed to take place in like 2008. The story, and one of the characters is talking about putting someone. Hurt Locker. It was when that was made. YouTube wasn't a thing,
right?
When the movie was supposed to take place, but he's talking about put it on YouTube, and it's just like that's a fairly common mistake. I'll bet. It just feels like they've been around forever. Anyway,
so he'd been going around and patrolling for a while, and then there was an incident.
What happened?
I'm fuzzy on the year, but again, watch the Jay Aubrey video. There was an incident involving a couple dancing. So this couple, they were it's outside Seattle. They were just like holding each other, right? Like swaying, I imagine, and kissing. According to what they said, what the couple said.
Yeah.
Phoenix Jones interpreted that as them fighting.
How?
Again, okay, sorry. I might be embellishing. I don't think the couple ever said. Actually, rewind. The couple never ever said they were caressing, but they were just saying they were kissing, is what they said.
Okay.
They never added. I think my head canon, my brain added that detail. So anyway, their side of the story is no, we were not fighting, we were kissing. Now there were a group of other people around them, and I think they were all dancing too. But he thought it looked like a scuffle. I'm assuming, and what his description of that. But don't pass judgment on Ben Foder yet.
No.
Because, again, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think that he got mixed up in this whole scenario. So apparently he's had somebody with him that was interviewing him, like a crew. And they were like, go over there. No, it was his cameraman. So the reason why he kept popping up on the internet is he had his own site, that he had a camera guy that he paid that followed him around on patrols and shit. It gets dumber.
Yeah.
It gets even sillier. But anyway, so according to him, his cameraman's like, there's people down there, go help. And so he pepper sprays all these fucking people, and they're all like, we were not fighting, we were dancing. And all that stuff happens. And then eventually, this leads to the fact
they dancing capoeira or what the fuck?
I don't know.
How could you possibly?
It's hard to
dancing people are fighting.
I don't really think there's good footage.
How much acid were you on, Super Dan? I mean,
I don't think
Jones.
there's good enough footage to tell. Anyway,
Sure.
Leave him alone, dude. Why are you attacking him?
Yeah.
He made a mistake.
That's a pretty. How do you get to fucking pepper spray everybody before you figure out that they weren't fighting?
You're gonna find out
after the first person you pepper sprayed, you would have been like, "Oh shit, my bad."
You're gonna find out more with this story. That as much as I want. Ben Foder, I think's heart is in the right place. He's still alive.
I'm calling bullshit on you, Super Dan.
I think his heart is in the right place. Who the fuck is Super Dan?
That's my nickname for him.
Just call him Phoenix Jones. You psychopath. I don't know why you're crazy for wanting to call him Super Dan, because his name is Ben. Anyway,
Super Ben.
But
it's never gonna end.
Anyway,
so yeah.
I think his heart's in the right place, but I think that he has something where I don't think he has like CTE or things like that, but I just think that there's something in him that makes him just sometimes a little bit more aggressive than he needs to be.
So he shouldn't be out patrolling the streets.
Probably not.
So
that's why he's not doing it.
Fantastic. You know what?
Let me continue with the story.
Sure.
So he's being threatened to have charges pressed and be arrested. So he needs to reveal his identity because they're going to confiscate his shit. So I shit you not, this is real. Like a fucking low-budget movie, there's a press conference with Phoenix Jones. And by the way, at this point, he was doing talk shows and interviews in costume as Phoenix Jones. He had not revealed his identity yet. So just like a fucking movie or a comic book, he takes off his mask. I'm Ben Foder. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm Phoenix Jones. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy. So he reveals his identity. You think that would be the end of the Phoenix Jones saga. Well, you're fucking wrong, bro. Because even though he is revealed his identity, keep in mind, he's still an MMA fighter. So he uses that to his benefit. You know, he calls himself Ben Phoenix Jones, Foder or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he does that. But not only that, he starts the Rain City superhero movement.
Oh my God.
This motherfucker made his own comic book universe because he straight up made a fucking superhero team. I don't remember all the members. The one member that I remember the most because they married, Phoenix Jones married her. Her name was Purple Rain, but not spelled like the rain outside. It was like, the royal rain. And her whole reason of getting into it was she wanted to raise awareness and combat against domestic violence. That was like her cause.
That's cool.
Which is commendable. I like that.
I like that.
And there's other members of the Rain City superhero movement, or the RCSM. I don't know the other ones, but Purple Rain is the one I distinctly remember because she...
Did you just with a straight face say RCSM?
Yes. Anyway, so they do the whole thing about patrolling the streets and making the whole thing. Well, then last year even, or not even, well, not necessarily last year, but there one guy that was a former member of the RCSM, he says...
If you say that one more time, I'm going to shit myself.
He leaves, and he's like, fuck Phoenix Jones. And he goes, listen, Phoenix Jones is a fucking dipshit. He's like, he doesn't fight crime, because Phoenix Jones had this thing where he said, like, I solved, like, he had an X number of cases he believed he solved. Whatever. But this other dude, who he sends in, like, he posts a Facebook post being like, fuck this dude. He beats up drunk people. Like, that's his whole fighting crime, is he beats drunk people. Then he shares a video, which again, potato quality. He shares it outside a bar, and this drunk guy is arguing with Phoenix Jones. There's a whole thing, and Phoenix goes, do you agree to combat? This is important, and I only say that because it's very important, and you're going to hear about this law, and it's going to blow your mind. The drunk guy says yes. So now legally, Phoenix Jones could beat the fuck out of this guy, because in Washington, there is a law called agree to combat. So if I want to fight you and I'm really angry at you and I want to beat the fuck out of you, legally, if I make you agree to combat, I can do that.
Even if you're intoxicated?
Do you think they're going to fucking say no to that? Because the guy was drunk in public, so they don't give a fuck. That's something that a lawyer could think about. But I shit you not, that is a real law.
If you agree to combat.
So I could be like, you know what, man? Fuck you. Do you agree to combat? And you're like, yeah, man. I agree to combat. I could fucking knock you out right now. Just drop you like a sack of potato. So that kind of starts to show, that shows the cracking in the arm, like the pepper spray incident, this incident. You're starting to see.
So what happens with the dude outside of the bar? Does he kick his ass?
Well, here's another thing to point out. You can clearly tell the guy is drunk. And you can clearly tell Ben Fodor does MMA because he's got a fighter stance. Like, he is ready to knock this motherfucker out.
Yeah.
There's that thread goes goes nowhere because it's a random fucking drunk dude. He didn't sue, whatever. But because of that, it shows cracks in the armor, and we already see division in the RCSM, and then eventually they disband. And in that time, Purple Rain and Phoenix Jones, they did get married, but they did get divorced. When the RCSM... By the way, again, Purple Rain, she actually has a website for domestic violence, which is awesome. So I like her.
Good for her.
She's good in it. She's the good guy in this story. At least from our side of it, or from what we know. So they break up, and so this really starts to put Phoenix Jones in a downward spiral, because his superhero team's done, his popularity's waning, his wife, him and his wife broke up. So, and I think there was rumors that he was... No, actually, I don't want to say that because I don't know if those allegations were involved in the video. No, I was gonna say I don't know. I don't know their relationship and why they broke up, so I don't want to throw any allegations. Yeah. So then later on, we find out that Phoenix Jones has still been active throughout the years, but last year in 2020, he was busted because he was arrested for trying to sell MDMA to an undercover cop. So he'd been using his Phoenix Jones popularity to sell drugs at this point, to which I respond, but everybody knows your identity at this point. But anyway, so he does that and he goes to jail. He's out. Now his whole social media, he brought back the Phoenix Jones social media, but his activism is a little bit different. He's still calls himself Phoenix Jones. He still uses that name, but he doesn't wear a mask or anything. And he's like pro-vaccine. Like, he's been like, hey, everybody get the shot. So he's been like telling everybody to get the COVID shot, which was like, what a weird turn. And then lately on social media, he's been sharing pictures of his armor and shit. Like maybe there's a comeback for Phoenix Jones. So this whole
and oh boy, could the world use one.
Now keep in mind, that was just like the Spark Notes version of this. Please go watch the Jay Aubrey video because I don't know if I'm doing it complete justice because there's so much
complete justice. It makes me think this guy's a fucking moron.
I think his heart was in the right place. He just didn't understand what he was doing because he like I said, it's. Let's make this very clear. I am not comparing Phoenix Jones to Mike Lindell. But what I am going to say, this is a cautionary tale. Hell, throw in Alex Jones if you want to. This is a cautionary tale when you build your own reality and you build your own delusions
you eat
of grandeur.
Enough of your own bullshit.
Right, you're going to start believing. This motherfucker.
You're going to start spewing it.
He had a fucking comic book style press conference to reveal his identity to the public. At that point, Ben Fodor died. It was all fucking Phoenix Jones at that point because that is full ego to do that and then start a fucking superhero team.
Yeah.
Come on. And he went full villain. He flipped the script and went full villain arc with selling drugs to
it's like they took the WWE and they were just like, you know what, we're going to make this happen in real life.
And it was the greatest heel turn ever because he'd been beating up drug dealers then he became a drug dealer.
For sheer entertainment value, that's pretty cool.
But I am glad that he is out and he looks like he is getting better and that's good. I want Ben Fodor and Phoenix Jones to be better. I just stop because I'll be honest. Fun little story before we wrap up the show.
Don't touch me.
Phoenix Jones had an impact on me in a sense.
Whoa.
Because there was a documentary, and I don't remember the name of it, but there was a documentary about people like Phoenix Jones that addressed, and this wasn't just Seattle. Like, this was all over the country.
Oh, vigilantism is a thing.
And this was, believe it or not, this stuff was happening before Kick-Ass. The movie Kick-Ass came out.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Anyway,
there was a DC comic called Vigilante. It was hyper-violent. Anyway.
No, but I'm saying like that movie definitely inspired people to do it again, I guess. But even though that movie is very cautionary, be like, if you do this, you will be murdered. Anyway, I was one of those people. Listen, you're going to love this. I was one of those people. And keep in mind, I was in high school. I was a teenager. And I lived in fucking Nebraska City, Nebraska. This was never going to be reality. But I created a character called the Crimson Crusader. And I had this like Under Armour shirt. At the time I was in shape, so it didn't look really bad on me. Like if I tried it on now, I'd rip through it with my gut. But my gut. But yeah, it was. I tried to. I built a whole back.
You flew too close to the sun.
I did because then I was like, this isn't a good idea.
And the wax on your wings.
Yeah, because you know what would happen. You get stabbed.
Icarus. That's fucking
Let's move on.
That's insane.
So that's the story of Phoenix Jones and the story of how I was kind of a superhero. Even though I didn't patrol. Adam was the one who actually patrolled. So
I didn't patrol.
He did.
What was your superhero name?
I said the Crimson Crusader.
Wait.
Crimson Crusader.
I like how you're just like. Sorry. I like how you're just like, get your hand up. I'll fucking do it.
I know what I'm doing.
Jesus.
So let's wrap up this week's show.